A meeting to work through a solution to reopen the government ended in the president storming out in a huff. CNN is learning tonight that a group of GOP senators met in Lindsey Graham's office sometimes after, trying to cut an immigration deal that would include money for the president's wall, along with other matters that might entice Democrats, like changes to help dreamers. But that's not where the president was at that meeting, and his party is paralyzed, waiting for him. He was all about wall or bust, say the Democratic leaders.
Again, we saw a temper tantrum because he couldn't get his way. He sort of slammed the table. And when Leader Pelosi said she didn't agree with the wall, he just walked out and said, "We have nothing to discuss."
Just a few days, many federal workers will not be receiving their paychecks. The president seems to be insensitive to that. He thinks maybe they could just ask their father for more money, but they can't.
All right, so we have House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer. He's going to take us inside the room where it all happened. Leader Hoyer, thank you for joining us.
Good to be with you, Chris.
So, simple question with a very complex answer, depending on who you ask. What happened in this meeting?
Well, dealing with this president is somewhat bizarre. I've been in Congress, as you know, for a long time, dealt with many of his predecessors, from Ronald Reagan to Barack Obama. And the meetings we have with this president are different than any others because you feel that the only answer he's going to take is yes to his demands. And frankly, we've been saying all along, look, Mr. President, there's a policy difference here. And we're prepared to discuss that policy because we want to have secure borders. And therefore, we're prepared to talk about that, including additional sums to assure the border security. But what we're not prepared to talk to or to agree to is a wall that Chairman McCall, who used to be the chairman, the Republican chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, said was neither the most efficient nor most effective way to affect border security. But what our position is that, Mr. President, don't shut down the government over this issue. Let's negotiate it. Let's talk about it. We want border security. You want border security. Let's talk about the best way to get there. And yes, let's talk to the experts. Let's talk how much money we need. So that our position is he is, in effect, holding hostage not only the 800,000 federal employees, but also the millions and millions of people who need housing assistance, who need food stamps, who need to go to our national parks, who need to get their tax refunds. Don't hold them hostage, Mr. President, while we discuss this.
So he actually said, I won't open it up, or if I don't open it up, or if I do open it up, you won't give me what I want, so forget it.
That's correct.
And is it true that he came in and that there was a relatively quick conversation, like, so if I reopen this government, will you be ready to give me a wall at some point in like a month or so? Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi said no, and he slammed his hand on the ground and said, see ya.
He left. I don't know what I would say. He got up. Obviously, he was angry and huffy, and he walked out.
Just like that?
Just like that. But my view was he did not think, and I think this adds to his anger, that we were going to agree to simply say yes to the president's wall. Many experts, including many Republican members of the United States Senate, have called the wall not the right alternative. So this is not a partisan issue. This is an issue of how do we secure the borders best.
Was he there to negotiate, you think, or was he there to give you an ultimatum, see if you were ready to give in, and then leave?
Well, whether he was there for that reason or not, that's what he did. You're either for the wall or I'm leaving, and Nancy said no, and he got up in a huff and walked out.
All right, let's try to filter some of what happened in this political dynamic into like the real world for a second.
Right.
When Nancy Pelosi or you say, we're not giving you the wall, but you have given money for the structures that the DHS, CBP say they need along the border. How much money, that's debatable, but you've given it in the past. Are you now not willing to give money for things like bollard fencing and technology for border security?
Look, I think when you mention technology, when you mention personnel, when you mention humanitarian relief, we're prepared to not only discuss, but to support efforts to expand all of those.
What about the physical structures?
Well, the physical structure, we have physical structures. We've supported fences in the past.
They need more.
When you say they need more, again, the Republican senators and the Republican former chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, who was in charge of making these kinds of judgments, said, the wall is not the most effective and efficient way to go, and we share that view. However, having said that, we want secure borders. And you talked about technology, we talk about personnel, we talk about other things that are effective in making sure the borders are secure. We're prepared to discuss that.
So just to be clear for the American people, if it were X-rays to screen vehicles at the ports of entry, you're for it. If it's to give CBP the manpower that they need to protect the border and to better process people.
We're for that. Now,
I want to go through the punch list, Leader, and then you can fill in whatever you want. To give them judges, to give them case agents, to give them money to create accommodations for kids and for families, would you give them that?
Well, there's certainly going to be a discussion about accommodations. We want to make sure that children are provided for, not taken from their parents, and that their parents are not incarcerated because they come across the border asking for asylum. So there is going to be a debate about that and discussion about that. But
you need a place to keep them that's safe and clean and warm.
Well, they don't like the court decision that says you can't keep them for very long.
Right.
So they don't like that court decision.
The Flores
settlement. Decision. Yes, we thought the Flores case was properly decided and was a humanitarian response. The president doesn't agree with that. They want to change it. So we have a policy disagreement. But, Chris, the real issue here is if you have a policy difference, you don't take hostages. You don't have making 800,000 people, 440,000 of which who are working and not getting paid. Ironically, many of those people are on the border. What do you think they think when they're not getting paid and their services aren't being valued? Shutting down the government, Mitch McConnell called a failed policy. And he said he was the opener of government, not the shutdown of government. And I agree with him. And I hope he would take our bills, pass them to the president. We're a co-equal branch of government. We're not subservient to the president's desire. We're the policymakers.
McConnell says he won't put them on the floor until the president says he agrees with them.
I understand that, and therefore
the president says he won't sign any because he loses his leverage.
Exactly. He says if you don't do it my way, the government's going to stay shut down, and people are not going to get their services, and employees are not going to get their salaries. It is, in my opinion, a very, very bad policy, bordering on, I would even say, an immoral policy to take people hostage for the ends you want to get to.
But isn't all of it part of the equation, Leader? I mean, there are places where you need a fence. There's places where you need sensors.
And we have
you need more
that.
Of all of it. So you are open to more of all of it to some degree, are you not?
We're willing to talk about that with the experts who can make a determination.
You've appropriated bollard fencing before.
Well, we have supported fencing before. You're correct on that. The fact is, though, that I want to keep repeating. We are prepared to make the border secure, and we're prepared to do it in a way that I think both sides will feel the borders are secure and Americans will be safe. And if it requires additional infrastructure, we will certainly, I think, be prepared to consider that. The president said Mexico was going to pay for a big concrete wall, 30 feet high and 2,000 miles long. Now, has he changed his view on that? Yes, he has. But he continues to be stuck on his political promise of building a wall. This is much more about a political promise than it is about keeping America safe.
Leader, thank you very much. This is very frustrating for you, and it must be for the American people, and not just the ones that are feeling the weight of the shutdown. This is just frustrating to watch. So we'll check back with you, and please let us know when there's progress to be reported.
You bet. Thanks, Chris.
All right, look, the context is everything. The president promised his base a wall. It was a promise he never thought he would have to keep in a race he never thought he would win.
Hi everyone, my name's Mike. I'm the creator of Mox News. And for the last 15 years, I have been telling you that as long as I have the support of the community that I serve, Mox News will post videos forever. And that's the truth. As long as I have your support, no one could ever make me stop. Unfortunately, currently, less than 1/2 of 1/10 of 1% of Mox News viewers ever donate, tip, or contribute anything back. Again, let me make that really clear. Much less than 1/2 of 1/10 of 1% ever give anything back. And to those of you who have donated to Mox News, I want to thank you so much, because it's because of your generosity that we have been able to bring attention to important videos that millions and millions of eyes would have never seen. And I think that that's an amazing thing that we've been able to make happen together. And I can't thank you enough for helping me make that happen. So it's not too late. If you'd like to see Mox News covering the 2020 presidential election, if you can't imagine the 2020 presidential election without Mox News, please, there's still time. You can make a difference. It's easy to make a contribution, donation, or tip. You can go to moxnews.com, or in the text body of this video, there are clickable links to the Patreon page or to the PayPal page. And again, it should take less than 2 minutes to make a donation, and your donation can make a big difference. So I thank you all. Stay cool. One of these days this war is going to end, and it would be awesome if Mox News could be there to celebrate that day with you.